There we go. Hello, everybody. Trying a little something new. I'm also on Instagram this morning. Make sure there's no echo. Excellent. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Good morning for me, wherever you are in the world. My name is Margaret Pinard. I'm a historical fiction and fantasy author. And here on my channel, we talk booktube related subjects. So the last thing was a tag about fantasy book library store. Um, and that was really fun. And today, because we are almost to Shakespeare Day, I was going to do a little feature of Shakespeare, why he's celebrated, good reasons, why I don't think he needs to be so celebrated, but then also like personal history with the Bard. So that is April 23rd coming up this week. And so that is why I am doing a little celebration or feature of Shakespeare. I have talked about him before on my channel 7 times. So I have other videos if you're interested, including tags about Shakespeare where we ask questions and such. But today we're just going to sort of riff on a theme and hopefully that is enjoyable. So welcome everybody. I've got a bit of outline. So let's see. I'm going to check to make sure. Oh, yes. So Shakespeare Day is April 23rd. But do you know what today is? I put it in my Facebook group, so someone in the stream probably knows. Let's see. I've got a bookmark saved for a very long time that actually reveals the person whose birthday is today, April 21st. Oh, okay. Yes, palindrome dates. Okay, well, we're not going to get there probably. So this is like one of my hero authors of high school, and it's Charlotte Bronte. So this is her birthday in 1816, I believe. And Jane Eyre was one of my favorite books from required reading in high school. It is not unproblematic as a reader nowadays, but you know, we have nostalgia for the things we grew up with. So happy birthday to Charlotte Bronte. Some excellent gothic romance trends starting with that dear lady. But we're going to talk about Shakespeare today in this stream. And I'm going to talk about his genius reputation first and why I think it's warranted. So I'm going to say hello to the chat. We had Shannon in here early, making friends with the like button. Thank you, thank you. And my question, which isn't up as a comment, but it's in the live chat as a question, is what's your favorite Shakespeare play? Because I'm going to be ending up this stream with my favorites and my personal feelings on the Bard. So I figured I would poll the audience. We've got The Taming of the Shrew from Shannon. And I was like, okay, I haven't read that one. I just basically know the gist. So I was like, okay. Anita says, hi, Anita. Macbeth or The Two Gentlemen of Verona. I have studied Macbeth, and The Two Gentlemen of Verona I have not. There are so many twin comedies in Shakespeare that even if I had, I would probably get it mixed up, but this is okay. This is okay. Shannon is multitasking. Totally get what you were saying. It's no worries. Anita says it's also Shakespeare Sunday if you do Twitter. Nice. I didn't think about that when I tweeted about this stream. It's a palindrome date. So yesterday was as well. Someone told me that 42024, and I was like, oh yeah, but only if you're in the American date order, not if you're in the European. So that makes sense. Cat Rosales, morning all. Barrett says, hi friends. Hello, hello. Oh, Barrett's answer is A Midsummer Night's Dream, which is also on my list, as is Macbeth. Shannon likes that one too. Shannon likes Othello. This is actually one of the other items I've talked about on my channel because I did a buddy read of Othello with Jeremy Fee because he's a big Shakespeare buff fan. And so, like, for one, I don't remember if it was in April or a September because April is Shakespeare month, but Shakestember is the Shakespeare reading. So I don't remember which month we did it, but we sort of chatted about it and I talked about that in a wrap up. Othello was good. Yeah. Oh, that was a long time ago, Barrett. Okay, so the first half of this, or third of this, is like the genius that is warranted, right? I think we grow up and Shakespeare is like the be all and end all of English language producers of content, if you want to reduce it to that. And so there are some reasons I think this is warranted. So the sheer creative force of language astonishes. So the vocabulary that he has come up with, all these words that are in our daily linguistic lexicon that he came up with, that he invented, that for some reason have stuck. So, like, you know, well, some of the insults are not so common, but very fun to trot out every once in a while, but also very common phrases that are from Shakespeare. So, the fact that there are so many of those and we just take them for granted is pretty incredible. So I think that's pretty like force of creative genius level. That the emotions that were presented so powerfully, we still use as expressions. So sometimes when I am trying to describe feelings of a character or I'm trying to get across how I was feeling in a particular situation, sometimes a line of Shakespeare is like just the perfect way to express it because it's vested with more emotional weight than that was awful or I'm so tired. Like there's things that he does with the language that just imprint themselves on your brain. And so if you grow up with that, if you are, immersed in that experience, like it gives you more breadth and more power to your expressions, I feel like. So that's pretty cool. And then the last one was the layering. So not unlike Pixar films. You may have heard me talk about this before, but I am a huge fan of Pixar films because not only is the visual, the animation amazing, but the humor is so layered. You've got things that kids can understand, like the fart jokes and the visual comedy. And then you've got things that are good for the adults taking their kids to the theater, which is like the emotional banter or the fear-based sarcasm or all these sort of things on a different level that would just go over kids' heads. Just like Pixar, Shakespeare did it first. He's got lots of different levels of humor, from the body, from the physical comedy, to like very sniping sort of comedy about cuts about someone's reputation or morality of someone's character. And so like you can swim through the different layers, and I find that really hard to do as a writer. So I really appreciate that as like someone with a master skill. So those are the things that I'm kind of pulling from it, going, these are really things to be celebrated in a writer's history and possible reasons why he's still around to talk about, and we still do his plays and sonnets, still do sonnets. Judi Dench has got a viral sonnet off by heart at the moment, but we have even done Shakespeare sonnet Mad Libs on the channel here a couple times with Martha, and that was super fun. So there's something about his playfulness of language, his really like breadth and depth of humor, the layering and the vocabulary and like creativity of coming up with expressions that are really powerful, that like, okay, yes, William Shakespeare, whoever you are, whoever you were, like deserves to be studied still. I would say that's valid. Uh-oh. Jim's in the chat. He didn't invent all those phrases and words. It's just his folio edition was the first instance where the dictionary compilers found it. Okay. All right. Well, I can see that as a data scientific data reality. That makes sense to me. Had I come across that before and forgot it? Possibly. But I think he also has a gift for turns of phrase that are unique to him rather than like inventing the word. So I'm still going to cling to partial point there, Jim. But welcome. Shannon says the origin of the idiom green with envy is believed to come directly from the great William Shakespeare himself. In Othello, Iago warns Othello, "Beware, my lord, of jealousy. It is the green-eyed monster which doth mock the meat it feeds on." Nice! Pulling out the quotes. I love it. Here it says, I do love Pixar films. Adult humor, kids humor. They really do have it all. Yes. Oh, and Shannon, okay, I didn't know this. Yellow is the color of jealousy in many other places. So that fact that we associate it with green from Shakespeare shows his influence. Yeah, I like that. I didn't know that. Yellow jealousy. That's cool. That's something I learned today. Yeah, so thank you. Jim says Shakespeare was frequently rated for early examples of word use, even though words or phrases might have been used earlier by less famous or less literary people. Rated for early examples. You mean by the dictionary compilers? Or by people who are claiming plagiarism? I imagine it's the former with the point that you made, but correct me if I'm misinterpreting that. Shannon used to teach Othello in her college literature class, so that's why she had that quote to whip right out. Very, very handy. I don't want to forget, if anyone is coming by as a Shakespeare aficionado, we do talk about dramatics from time to time, so feel free to subscribe to the channel, like the stream if you're new here. Oh, okay. The next piece I have is actually a screen share for how widespread his usage, his phrases have become. And I don't think this is something that people envision when they compiled the dictionary, but I looked up, because this is sort of like a hobby horse of mine, I looked up titles that had Hamlet references, because, spoiler, Hamlet is my favorite play in the Shakespeare oeuvre, and there are a lot. And I don't know how many people realize titles that are related to Hamlet. Maybe you know it's Shakespeare, but you don't know it's Hamlet. So I was going to go through. If you have any you can think of, drop them in the chat, and we'll see if they are on the list. It's a Goodreads list, so you'll probably hit a few, but feel free to pop those in the chat. And while you do that, I'm going to cover the next third of my little spiel here. Why I'm not like a stan, right? So why I'm not like worshiping Shakespeare as an artist, because I've read fiction, I've read biography, I've read history that gets at the point that if it was him, like, we don't know a lot of details about his actual life, but he's a human, he's prejudiced, he's fallible, he was doing this for money. Like, there were lots of reasons, things you might not like about this William Shakespeare character. So it's dangerous to revere people as like someone to worship, to put them on a pedestal. And so I just want to be clear that I don't do this with Shakespeare. I think his work is amazing and a rich vein to mine, I should say. But for, like, he's a human, he's been made famous somehow. And just know, like, if you're comparing yourself to William Shakespeare as a writer, he also wrote very silly stories and very convoluted plots and very blood and gore scenes. And, you know, there were didactic speeches. There's lots of pieces that people go, oh yeah, that one. And so there's things not to like about Shakespeare too. But if you persevere, you can find your own niche, and you don't have to be as famous as Shakespeare. You just got to find what your voice wants to say. So that's my little don't worry and don't worship people kind of thing. So let me see if anyone came up with Hamlet references in titles. Okay, Jim is telling me by the compilers. Thank you. Okay. Jim says, my avatars in Second Life were Iago. We know that because of your Twitter handle. Othello and Desdemona. Oh, that's cool. So we've got some Othello fans in the chat. Very nice. Okay, so no, missed the assignment. That's okay. I'm going to share my screen here to go through the first 50 here, because I think it's pretty fun. And I'm going to, can I make it bigger a little bit so people can see it? I don't know if you can see that okay. And sorry for the ads. This is my Goodreads that I don't usually use. So, number 1, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead by Tom Stoppard. And do me a favor, if you've heard of any of these titles, not the author, but the title itself, or the quote, and you recognize the quote, do a little raised hand in the chat so we can count how many, like, hit home with the audience. So, Rosengill Are Dead, yeah. Angels and Ministers of Grace by Michelle O'Leary. Never heard of that author. The Mousetrap and Other Plays by Agatha Christie. Yes, from Hamlet. The Gods Themselves by Isaac Asimov. So that's just showing that it doesn't stay in one genre. You've got sci-fi, you've got mystery, you've got fiction. Time Out of Joint by Philip K. Dick. Haven't read that one. A Counterfeit Presentiment and The Parlor Car, which is obviously partially from Shakespeare. I don't think Shakespeare had parlor cars, by William Dean Howells, who's actually an early 20th century author, who I've got several books of that I have not read, which I've been meaning to because research reads. Of course, Infinite Jest. I'm sure people have heard of this one by David Foster Wallace. Number 8, And Be a Villain by Rex Stout, which is a Nero Wolfe series book. Smile, smile, and be a villain. Then we've got Perchance to Dream by Robert B. Parker, big famous author. Something Rotten by Jasper Fforde, who is a absurdist fantasy fiction type author. I love the Thursday Next books. I think I read about 3 of them. I'm not good with finishing series, so that was, I think, my limit. Oh, cool! Jim says The Gods Themselves is my favorite Asimov novel. Nice! Joanne came in. Jackie Lambo, hello, hello. And Cat Paw's working on a crochet shawl as she's listening. Shannon says she knows the Asimov one. All right. Let's keep going. 11, What Dreams May Come by Richard Matheson, which was a movie adaptation as well with Robin Williams. Mortal Coils by Aldous Huxley, big famous early sci-fi. The Primrose Path by Bram Stoker. I had never heard of this one. I mean, I recognize the quote, but like Bram Stoker, excellent references. Perchance to Dream. This is a common one by Lisa Manchev. Haven't heard of her. To Thine Own Self Be True by Judy Clements. Haven't heard of her. Remember Me by Mary Higgins Clark. Classic mystery. Get Thee to a Punnery, an anthology of international assaults upon the English language by Richard Lederer, which is pretty funny. How Like a God by Rex Stout. I think that's an early mystery or like pulp fiction. If anyone's read Rex Stout, I think it feels like it might be just the mass market paperback guiding me here, but that name also makes me think of like Garb August titles, but Jim can correct me if he knows. All My Sins Are Remembered by Joe Haldeman, and I definitely know that quote because it was in a speech from Hamlet to Ophelia. We've got Alas Poor Yorick, which is like the skull speech by Chelsea Quinn Yarbrough. To Be or Not to Be, that doesn't really count. That's not a separate book. Foul is Fair by Hannah Cappin. That looks like a newer title with that cover. Very cool. Conscience of the King by Alfred Duggan. That's about the play within the play. The Undiscovered Country, again by William Dean Howells. Interesting. Perchance to Dream, Star Trek novel by Howard Weinstein. Like, how did that get in there? That's cool. Another Perchance to Dream. Another Conscience of the King. Another Perchance to Dream. Another Mortal Coil by D.H. Lawrence. Interesting. The Traveler Returns by Patricia Wentworth, who's a thriller writer, I believe, from the 50s and 60s. A Sea of Troubles by Lyndall Baker Landauer. The To Be or Not to Be speech is really, again, a rich vein to mine for people looking for titles. Another Sea of Troubles by Marguerite Duras. Outrageous Fortune, another Patricia Wentworth. So sometimes people went in for more than one. Poison and Just by John Dixon Carr, an early like Golden Age mystery writer. Rosemary for Remembrance. That's an Ophelia line, so I do remember that one. By Felicity Pullman. A Mirror to Nature by Jane Yolen. I think she's a YA author. Glimpses of the Moon by Edith Wharton. And I'm a big Edith Wharton fan, but I do not remember this quote. So that is an interesting one. I don't know where that comes from in the play. Another Undiscovered Country, Sea of Troubles, Sleep of Death. A little bit different. Good Night, Sweet Prince. I think Emma Blair, the author there, is a early 20th century. It looks like Anne of Green Gables, and I think I've looked up her work from before. A Dream of Passion, which is Lee Strasberg, who I think is the person associated with the method acting theory stuff. This Above All, that's from Polonius's speech by Barbara Faith. Another Sea of Troubles, Another To Be or Not to Be, A Wounded Name. I didn't know that one. Another Mortal Coil, The Death I Gave Him. I can't immediately place that one by M.X. Liu either. Laertes, A Hamlet Retelling by Carly Stevens. Hadn't heard of that one. The Tragedy of Dane Riley, which I think is like a retelling maybe, because like Dane, I'm thinking it's referencing Hamlet the Dane, but that's not really a quote in the title. Mortal Coil, Not to Be. Ooh, King of Infinite Space by Lindsay Fay, who I think is a hybrid author who I've seen around, which is pretty cool. And then I think after 50 we get to lots of repeats and stuff. But I thought that was really cool. If you know Elizabeth from Bouquins and Books, she was doing or trying to do a project of recording all the references to Shakespeare she found in like romance books, because it was perplexing to her that she thought these books that were like lowbrow were referencing Shakespeare in ways that she found like interesting. So I've sort of had this like side project of collecting titles that I recognize the Shakespeare quote in, specifically the Hamlet quote, because that's the play I know best. So that was just my little fun going through the Goodreads list that made it easy. Oh, people know other ones. So Anita said, read Perchance to Dream by Robert Parker. Very cool. Oh, I was going to see if like this does anything on my Apple. Nope. Okay. Just wanted to test that out. Barrett, you're the only one who knows how to do it. Oh, Jim says To Play the Fool by Laurie R. King. Nice, that's true. That's Laurie R. King's lesbian detective contemporary. So that's cool. I think I read that one as well. This Mortal Coil and Perchance to Dream come up frequently. Yes, and I wonder why. Maybe because they're suggestive, like dream and mortal, but like they use other words that are not in the common parlance, like coil and perchance. So there's a mix. I don't know. Interesting. Star Trek loves Shakespeare quotes, as do the Klingons, Anita tells us. Nice. Uh-huh. Jim says, I'm reading In the Blink of an Eye now, a police procedural set in Warwickshire. No mention of Shakespeare yet. But it can turn up in the most odd places, right? That's pretty fun. I love Anne of Green Gables, and that's an impression. I may have that association wrong, so don't quote me on that one. And then Shannon's laughing. Thumbs up. So yeah, so that's the titles. I thought that would be a little fun thing to go through. If anyone has any Q&A or other fun facts to share about Shakespeare, feel free to pop that in the chat. So now the last third is about like personal feelings and interactions with the bard. So I've got favorite plays, and you will see how well loved they are. Let's see. That's the order I was going to go through these. Personal feelings that influence our reading of him and our judgment of his importance. So going to Catholic school in high school, I really loved drama class, and more on that anon. But there was a lot that was censored in a Catholic high school, and so we couldn't do something cool like Newsies for our drama class production or theater production. We only were allowed to do Shakespeare. That's what the Jesuits would allow. Even though, as you know, there's very bawdy humor in Shakespeare. So it was considered acceptable anyway. And we went forward. The first year we had a drama production at all, we did Much Ado About Nothing. And this is the actual copy, my freshman year, the Dover Thrift Edition. And unfortunately, I crossed out all the lines that, were taken out of the script. So it's pretty unreadable now. I was a freshman in high school. Don't come for me. because we were reading this in class, and so I think we were like doing the speeches and stuff. I've seen some great productions of Much Ado About Nothing. The movie we watched in high school, gorgeous, love it. And I do like recognizing quotes from this in there as well. And if you have not yet seen it, I would recommend that you search for David Tennant and Emma. Wait, is it Emma Thompson? No, Emma Thompson is in the movie. David Tennant and Catherine. Oh shoot, now I'm gonna forget her name. Tate. They've done a lot of comedy sketches together, and they were in Much Ado, and they were Benedict and Beatrice acting out the like famous love scene stuff, and they're hilarious. And they do it with like modern costume, and it's hilarious. So definitely get yourself your Much Ado adaptation and get ready to laugh. So that's one I knew really well from freshman year in high school. That's my number 2 favorite. My number 3 favorite, we're going to build up here, is Midsummer Night's Dream. And this is not the actual copy I used, I don't think. I mean, it could be because my parts are highlighted. Aren't you impressed that I still have the copies from high school? And what's even funnier is, we had hand-me-down textbooks. And so when I go through this, I see, okay, I have like entrance northeast, that kind of stuff in here. So I guess this was what I used. I see that my brother also read this because that's obviously his left-handed handwriting. So, yeah, it's just like memories and good times when drama was free of drama. And I just enjoyed getting to know a text and like getting to know the layers and acting with people and laughing and having fun and memorizing lines and just like, it was great. So this was actually senior year in high school and I played Puck. So that's really good. It's a favorite. The number 4 favorite is the one we did my junior year in high school, 12th Night. That's one of the twin comedies. And at first I was playing the young love interest, and then we had to swap around roles because someone dropped out. And then I was playing Olivia, the like comic pining heroine with no depth. And so it was pretty funny. I got to know everyone's lines. So that was really fun. And then my 5 is Macbeth. We studied it for English class, but we did not act that one. So that was a different sort of treatment. And my number 1, as I've already said, is Hamlet. This is not the book that I used. This is the Folger Shakespeare Library Edition, however. Again, more on that anon. And they do a really good job having like the weird words that you don't know. Oh, in fact, this one has a definition for posset, which means clot, which is not very nice. I just made lemon posset and it was delicious. But it's like lemon curd without the egg, and it's lovely. But apparently it's not the way they're using it here. But I do have notes. I do have notes all over the place in this one. So maybe this is like what we did when we were reading through before we got our scripts. Because I do have like stage direction too. So I'm not sure. But Hamlet, favorite. All the references, all the quotes, all the memories. I've even got pictures from this one that I still have from sophomore year in high school when we were in it. And just like super cool. So one more piece, and then I'll do like a little dramatic reading. Actually, 2 more pieces. So the Folger Shakespeare Library, and this is what I'm going to call out Ben pick, because I know Ben lives in the DC area, and this is something like you should definitely take advantage of. When I lived in DC as a governmental NGO person, I had the coffers for a theater subscription, season tickets, and I chose the Folger Library, the Folger Shakespeare Theater, for several years in a row to be my season ticket place because it was amazing. They have basically like a small scale reproduction of the Globe kind of vibe, and they choose to do some Shakespeare plays and some other classic plays. They update them, they put them in different eras. They are very scholarly, so they dive into the meanings and relate them to contemporary themes. They've got a magazine where they dive into different controversies and like just really, really great resource. I looked at their website yesterday in preparation for this. Apparently they've been closed for renovations and the theater is just opened, but the library is not yet open. I think it's opening in June. So you've got another 6 weeks to wait. But if you are in the Delmarva area and you're going to DC for any reason, definitely recommend checking out the Folger Shakespeare Theater. They're doing a modern version of Metamorphoses by Ovid currently. So if you like theater, that is a great place to absorb it. So definitely recommend. Yes. Yes. This is what we were trying to think of in Discord yesterday for the AWC stream. For chance to boop the like-it button. Thank you, Jim. I think that's it. It's like a 14 or later Apple, and I think I'm on 13 something. So, but I thought it worked for me once, which is why I was confused. It's okay. He is prepping for something and couldn't pick up the phone. Oh, you're listening to me on the phone. Oh, cool. All right. Same on the drama class friend, public school heathen here. And then I don't know. I am actually planning a visit to DC. I thought you were planning a visit to Puerto Rico. Are you just going all over? Maybe I'm picking the wrong reference here. Leslie's here, booping the like button at a book festival, so we'll watch the replay later today. Appreciate that. Leslie, enjoy a book festival. That seems nice. Okay, so we got through my favorite plays and my like intense personal feelings and nostalgia with them. I got through the Folger Shakespeare booster. Definitely go check it out if you're interested in Shakespeare or theater. And then the last piece was going to be about, oh yes, why I got involved in this. Yes, you know what this is? The Ren Fair epic. This is a book I had on my wish list for a long time. I finally read it a few years ago for Booktube. It's called Well Met, Renaissance Fairs and the American Counterculture by Rachel Lee Rubin. And when I think of Shakespeare, when I think of the costume, when I think of the time period, I do think of the Ren Fair phenomenon because William Shakespeare lived during the Renaissance and we have this weird counterculture, as she describes in this book rather academically, that started in the 60s and in California, and people wanted to do creative things outdoors as a community and chose a nostalgic previous time that didn't exist in the US in order to use it as their frame for fun, crafty activities and drama, art, joy, basically. And I think that's interesting because I've been to several Ren fairs and some of them are very pointed about we're imagining it is this year and the queen is this years old and this is the thing that has just happened in the court. And so there's sort of, if you're into it at that level, you can go and interact with people and try to use your Shakespearean dialect. But if not, you just sort of like observe and are entertained by imagining things that are so different from your experience, which is why I go. I also like the fact that what you're celebrating, a little bit of what you're celebrating is life before being divorced from the land. So you had people who actually knew how to do things and make things. And that's still incorporated into Ren fairs today. Like we have people who know how to card wool and crochet, like Cat Paw is showing us on the stream today, and make things like textile things, as well as people who are whittling wood, blacksmiths who are like creating things in metal. And for me, who has never learned how to do much with her hands, seeing people who still know how to do this, observing them, listening to them talk about their trade and how they learned, and how people in previous decades or eras would have made this part of their life and livelihood. Like that's really cool to me because it's a history lesson, but also because these are people's lives that I like imagining. So I really like that part of Ren Fair. And then there's the horses and the jousting and the costumes and stuff that is not necessarily educational, but it's just like, whoa, impressive. I like that end too. And what is Shakespeare if not impressive, right? Um, so Joanne is talking about writing words. Good job. Um, Anita says, here in Nova Scotia, we have Shakespeare by the Sea, an open air theater company. That's pretty cool. Yeah, actually, I had just walked by a place that had been a theater, was closed for like 2 years. I saw like the inside was gutted. You could see through it. They redid everything, and now it's a theater again, which I was not expecting because it's right in the middle of Portland. So they have like a shorts festival or something that's going on. But I definitely wanted to look into it and be like, oh, maybe it's time to get another season ticket thing. I don't know. I've got 4 jobs now, so I might be able to allow myself that again. Um, so yeah, fingers crossed. So that was the Ren Fair piece, and I admire the craft and sort of like the fanciness of it because if you don't have something fantasy-esque in your life, you're sort of losing the wonder of life. And so that's one of the pieces, Ren Fair, um, of celebrations or festivals that I like going to because it gets you out of your regular routine and you just are able to marvel at things and learn about things and history. So there's my little shtick about that. Oh no! Cat Pass says, I would totally love to go to a Ren Fair. There's nothing like it here, and I love most craft. Yeah, there's some there's some that are more geared towards education stuff and craft, and there's some that are not. Um, Shannon says, me too. I imagine in hotter climes, it is harder to pull this off because even in temperate zones like Maryland, Maryland's Renaissance Festival is the biggest one I've ever been to. It gets really hot when they have it. It's in the summer or late summer, fall. And, you're in leather, you're in gherkins, you're in chainmail, I don't know, whatever. But like, depending on your costume, you can get really, really hot and like heat stroke. So bring your straw hats and everything, sunblock. Um, but yeah, it's pretty fun. The years that I miss going to one is a shame. I let the season pass by and go, oh, I didn't go to the Ren Fair. But back to Shakespeare. I have one final thing to share with you, and that is one of the speeches from Midsummer Night's Dream that ends just as a nice dramatic reading. I actually, since I since I got this ready, I might as well share it. I have a whole playlist for those who like to be dramatic and laugh or giggle or whatever. I called it my dramatic reading playlist where I did stage readings or things like that. So if you're interested, you can check out those. Most of the Shakespeare references should be on there, including my Mad Lib Shakespeare sonnets with Martha of self righteousness. But the last piece is the dramatic reading of Puck's final speech. And for that, we will turn that off. I re-memorized it, so let's see if I can do this. If we shadows have offended, think but this, and all is mended, that you have but slumbered here while these visions did appear. And this weak and idle theme, no more yielding, but a dream. Gentles, do not reprehend. If you pardon, we shall mend. And as I am an honest Puck, and if we have unearned luck now to scape the serpent's tongue, we will make amends ere long. Else the Puck a liar call. And so, good night unto you all. Give me your hands, if we be friends, and Robin shall restore amends. There we go. That's my 16 lines. That's all I can retain these days. So if you enjoyed that, there is a playlist to watch for dramatic readings on the channel. And you can always tell me your favorite Shakespeare play down in the comments if you're watching on the replay. and I hope you get out to experience either a Ren fair or a Shakespeare play or something. And if not, this weekend or this week, just be dramatic for Shakespeare Day on April 23rd, and you'll be in good company. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you again soon. Bye.